Hello and welcome. Liesel here, and it's Friday, so that feels like something to celebrate. And that's exactly the topic of this video today. Recently, I wrote a post about how important it is for us to celebrate our wins, celebrate what we did well in order to give us energy to go on with the rest of the journey, whatever that journey might be, a big project, a big goal, a long-term thing that you're working on. The thing is that many of us still have difficulty with actually putting the celebrations into action because, well, for many reasons. And many of them are actually not that well, or how shall I say, put it the other way, they're a little bit hidden. So we don't know the reasons why we're reluctant to celebrate. So it's very, very important to look at the things that will stop us from implementing a new habit. So many of us might think that it would be a wonderful idea. They would love celebrating their wins, and they don't actually get to do it. And they think the concept makes so much sense. And of course, why haven't they thought of this before? And they've heard it before, and then they still don't do it. And the reason are those things that are on the inside. And those things could be our values, some emotions, and some beliefs in the subconscious mind. And that's why I said in the beginning, they are usually a little bit or a lot hidden until we start digging a little bit and looking for them. And that's what we're going to do in this video, work with those a little bit. So in the beginning, for me too, first time I came across this concept of celebrating my wins, I thought, wow, that's pretty awesome and I'd love to do it, and didn't put it into action. And then as I started digging, I came up with some really good reasons why it would be hard for me. And today I did a little preparation and I thought, so what were all those things for me? Some of them are not totally gone for me. And so I also don't celebrate every single time I go through something hard. So I can do more of that as well. And it was a very good exercise for me to dig a little bit into what is still preventing me from fully implementing this wonderful habit. Now I have my notes here on the right. I'm just going to look away because I want to make sure I go through all of them. So listen to them a little bit. I'm going to talk around each one for a few sentences. And listen if there's any of them that sound familiar to you, that feel like, oh yes, that's true for me. I'm not sure if I completed my sentence earlier. If we don't actually dig these up and do something about them, it's that inner, can I say, misalignment that's going to stop us from actually putting into practice a habit, a new habit or a new action, a new behavior that we want to. So if my conscious thoughts say, oh, celebrating, I can see the sense of it, it sounds lovely, I'm going to do it now. That's my conscious thoughts because somebody has given me new information. But my unconscious, the parts of me that are not so on the surface, are saying, yeah, you know what, it might not be such a great idea because those inner things that are sitting there under the surface are going to prevent us from taking actual action to start celebrating our wins. So we're going to dig into some of these a little bit now. One of the things you can do to dig up your own is to start a sentence and then be quiet and let an answer come up. So we give this exercise enough time so that we can get enough of the subconscious stuff surfacing. And we go into this exercise with absolutely zero judgment about what comes up. So I started my sentence like this. If I celebrated my wins or myself, then, and I waited for an answer. And the first one that came was, people would think that I'm self-centered or arrogant. How interesting is that? So the post I wrote specifically said, we need to celebrate ourselves not for the benefit of anybody else, but for our benefit. And I will put the link to that post in a comment below so that you can go and read that first, because that's kind of the debunk for this this myth here. People would think I'm arrogant or self-centered if I celebrate it. You know what? Let them think what they want. The thing is, the celebration we do can be something that nobody else even knows what I'm doing this action for. For instance, I love drinking a cup of tea slowly and just giving my thoughts a chance to roam. And I don't often do that because I think, well, there's so much to do. I've got to drink my tea while I type or something like that. So if I just could sit in a garden with my cup of tea for 15 minutes and feel the cup of tea, the warmth, and enjoy the taste and listen to the birds and enjoy all the senses, that would be a lovely celebration for something I did well and nobody else needs to know. So there goes that myth. People don't even have to know what you celebrate or what you're doing this action for. So how could they possibly think that you're arrogant or self-centered? There's more to say about that one, and I'm going to leave that one there for now. My next point that I found was, well, what if I think I'm self-centered to spend this time just thinking about something I did well? Yeah, that's a good one, because we are often told things as children like, don't be too big for your boots. You think you're so good. Who do you think you are? We get those comments. And so this one is not as easy to drop as just with another thought like, oh, well, I can stop thinking that. These thoughts are not that easy to stop because they're kind of written in our subconscious mind by experiences that we had as children. And that is where EFT tapping will come in very handy to help us erase those things that are written in our subconscious mind. The next thing I came up with is my mother or father or children or whoever, my mother-in-law, would not approve. That also often comes from experiences we had where they did actually say, hey, get up, don't be so lazy. There's plenty of chores here to do. You have to do your part. So we got all those messages from people that we care and love about, who love and care for us as well, that it's not okay to sit on our laurels and rest a little bit. There was all this judgment about sitting down, enjoying a moment, because there's all this work to do. So yes, I can understand this one as well. And it's not very, I don't think it serves us to keep hanging on to this one, that I can't do certain things for myself because somebody else wouldn't approve. If you really thought about that, do you really want to hang on to let's call it a bit of a dysfunctional behavior? I can't rest and I can't enjoy the fruits of my labor because somebody else would think that's bad. I certainly don't want to, so that's why we're going to do some tapping later. The next one I came up with is, I can't celebrate because, hell, who's got time for that? I certainly don't. I've got all these things on my to-do list, and I truly do have a long to-do list. They keep piling up. As soon as I've done 2 or 3, another 10 gets added to the list. Well, you know what? That's going to keep happening. So we have to learn ways to manage both our free time and our productive time, so we make the best use of our productive time, and then we can still enjoy some off time and some celebration time. I'm in a program at the moment where I'm learning about joyful productivity. It's by a mentor of mine who I truly respect, and I'm learning so much about this topic. Hello, George, if you're watching this. I'll put the link for his program also in the bottom of this post. And you know what he does? He is an incredibly productive man. He gets so much done. My jaw drops when I see the amount of output of this person. And you know what he schedules into his calendar, first of all, before anything else goes in? His self-care time. Because he wants his productivity to be sustainable. That is the only way that he gets so much done, because he schedules in minutes, half hours, hour and a half, everywhere into his day to make sure that the rest of the time he is super productive. So it's a myth that because we have loads of things on our to-do list, we cannot afford the time off. We need that time off more than ever the longer our lists are, because we cannot be sustainably productive if we don't afford ourselves that. So your celebration time is something so important that you can schedule it into your calendar ahead of time. And you know what? Every time I look at that little schedule there, that piece there that I carved out for myself ahead of time, I think, oh, it's going to be awesome. And I get productive and I feel like doing the thing that I'm doing now because I know that is on its way. And so I invite you to try that. Another one that comes up is, I need to be productive, and idleness is not productive. So we often learn that from our parents. It's a very prevalent attitude in the Western world where we're encouraged to achieve, set the next goal, create the next product, do all of that, be on the hamster wheel. And all of that is great and well. And yes, it does bring wonderful things into our lives as well, as long as it's sustainable. And I think that's what it's about more than anything else. The celebration part is not, we don't do that all day, every day. We don't have to carve out a whole day. We can carve out 10 minutes of our day, or 10 minutes in a week if you're starting with this, to start getting into the new habit of looking back, saying, oh my word, what I've come through is very hard. And I acknowledge that I did that. So it doesn't have to take a whole day. And it is productive because it helps us to be sustainable. Another one that I came up with, this is a big one. I don't deserve it because there's so many other things that I haven't done yet. Those things that wait on my list for me to get done. So there's a feeling like I don't deserve to rest yet. Well, I ask you, like I said just now, the minute I do 3 things, there's 10 more on the list. So when will there ever be time that I finish the whole list that I can then reasonably deserve it because I've done all my tasks? That doesn't actually ever happen. So, and again, it's not a valid reason. We don't have to deserve our rest time because I've completed all the tasks. I just deserve the rest time because I'm a human being, not a machine, and I need to make my life sustainable. I keep coming back to that word. So we need kindness towards ourselves. The other one is a little bit of a bigger one, perhaps. I don't deserve it because I feel bad about myself for other things. So there could be, it's almost like a bit of shame or guilt or something. It could be sitting there about other things. So I just don't deserve it. I keep punishing myself with hard work because I'm almost maybe running away from the feelings that I'll feel if I sit down and rest. That can be a big one. Or I've told myself, well, I'll never be able to rest again. I need to keep going because I don't, because I did a bad thing once upon a time. That happens. And I understand it's in human nature to do that. So that one, again, it needs to be tackled with tapping, EFT, some emotional processing, because just telling you that you deserve it and you can forget that bad thing you think you did is not ever going to work. So I understand that. Another thing is I feel too guilty to take time off for myself because there are so many other people depending on me who need my attention. Boy, can you hear the responsibility in that one? If I disappear, the world will disappear too. I know this one all too well because I often take responsibility for others, for their happiness, a little bit of a sort of a rescuer energy. So, come riding in on my my big horse and a white cape, and I'm going to come to the rescue. Can we all just drop that one for a little bit, because people are actually very capable. Children are a little bit different because, of course, when they're in our care, we do need to take care, and we can start teaching them that it is okay to need off time, and that they can put them to play or something like that while we have our 10 minutes of tea by ourselves, or get do a swap session with another mom or something like that, because you do deserve this time to make your life sustainable. Another one is, my parents never did that, so I didn't learn. We learn and imitate what our parents or primary caregivers did. We learn from them. We imitate what they did. And so it's no wonder if our parents never did something like that, that we would think it's odd. It's no wonder we would think that. And so I'm here to tell you that it's okay to start doing things that your parents never got to do. My mom sometimes says she's learning from me all the time. So, well, we learn from our parents, and so sometimes they do need to learn new things from us as well. So I think those are the big reasons. You need to come up with your own, because we all have different programming, different education and background, and things that were taught to us through our different events, situations in life. And so one of the exercises I suggest you do is sit quietly for a few minutes and come up with your reasons. Why would it not be okay to celebrate your wins? It's those things that will prevent you. It's not your conscious decision to start doing it. That is less powerful than all these things sitting in the subconscious mind that's going to argue against your wish to start celebrating your wins. So we're going to do 1 or 2 rounds of tapping. I might do another video with more tapping, because I was intending to do mostly tapping, and it turned out I explained a little bit more of each reason, and I don't want this to become too long. So I'm going to do a little bit of tapping, and then I invite you to just go away, repeat that tapping for yourself a couple times, at least once a day for a week or so, for your biggest reason, because you will start clearing the runway for your own celebrations processes to start feeling really delicious, yummy, inviting and exciting, instead of, oh, I can't do it because. So let's just start here. I'm just going to use 1 or 2 of the reasons in here. I don't know what your reason is, but bring yours to mind before we start, and start tapping with me, and let's see where we go. Yeah. So even though I can't celebrate my wins, that just feels wrong on so many levels, I can deeply and completely accept myself anyway. Even though I truly can't celebrate my wins, because people will think I'm arrogant, or maybe I will think I'm arrogant, and my mother or my mother-in-law just won't approve. She'll say, stop being so idle. And I can deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. Even though it's wrong to sit down and celebrate my wins, because it could be arrogant, self-centered, and my mother wouldn't approve, because you have to get all the work done before you can sit and rest. That's what I was taught. I can deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. I'm not allowed to celebrate my wins. I just can't do that. It's wrong on too many levels. I'm not allowed to sit down for a minute until all the work is done. And that never, ever, ever, ever happens. So it feels like I'm doomed to a life of just work and chores and getting everything done. I'm not allowed to sit and celebrate. Something on the inside tells me it's wrong to celebrate. I just can't. And under the arm, I can't celebrate my wins. It just feels wrong. My parents didn't ever do that, so why should I? I was just not taught that it's okay to do that. And we're just going to continue for 1 more round. Maybe I just don't deserve to celebrate my wins, because there's too many other things that I haven't done, and I can only celebrate when it's all done. Or maybe I don't deserve to celebrate what I've done because I feel bad about something else I've done. Maybe I feel ashamed or guilty about something in my past. So I just don't deserve to do good things for myself. I just don't deserve good things because of that one time or that thing that I still carry with me. I just don't deserve to celebrate. There's still too much to do. I can't spare the time. And I like using the inner wrist point as well. I can't spare the time. It's ridiculous to sit and celebrate if I've still got all these hundreds of things on my plate. All this celebration talk, that's just ridiculous. And then just take a nice deep breath in and let it out like a sigh. Good. Now, think about celebrating and how strong your resistance still is. If it's still above a 5, I would say repeat these rounds a few times every day. Go through them yourself, do a little bit of 5 minutes of tapping in the morning. And then when you feel ready, we're going to do, when your resistance is below a 4 or below, we can start bringing in a little bit of the possibility side. So then you can come back to this video and do it now. Do it then. If you feel ready now, if your resistance is a 4 or below, let's go into that. So you can join me now. So even though I still have a bit of resistance left, I'm not quite sure if it's the right thing, I'm open to the possibility of experimenting with this. Maybe I can just experiment with the idea of celebrating my wins. It does sound really nice. And it does make sense, the idea of looking back at how far I've come and what I've accomplished and really acknowledging myself and all the effort I've put in. It does really make sense. And I can see how that would be good for me. So maybe I can start experimenting in really small ways, in ways that it's going to be not very costly at all in time or money, like a 10-minute break sometime, or my favorite beverage in a coffee shop that I love, and I'll just do it just for me, just by myself, or maybe with a friend that I really enjoy spending time with. And I can consciously, at that moment, acknowledge myself for what I've done. Maybe I can just start experimenting with this. Good. And take a nice deep breath in. Let it out like a big sigh. And again, these more positive rounds you can start playing with, repeating more often, bringing in some more possibilities of maybe this is possible. I choose to maybe see what this can do for me. We change in layers. It's not often that we go from this straight to that. So with these degrees, we start, maybe it's a little bit easier than before, a little bit more. That's how we change. So see what works for you. You don't have to do it like anybody else. Just start relaxing into the idea that maybe celebrating your wins could be really, really beneficial in your life. You could teach your children something really great that will help them to create sustainable lives for themselves as well. Thank you very much for watching. I'm never sure who's on the line with me, so I see a few people here. Thank you so much for being here, and I invite your comments or questions below the video, and I wish you a day of celebrating at least one tiny thing that you did well or that took a lot of effort that was difficult for you in the past week. Have a beautiful day.